So good morning, I'm Catherine Whitniven. I'm Vice Principal and Pro-Vice Chancellor for Advancement here at the University West of Scotland, and I want to welcome all of our alumni back and all of our academics who joined us today. And I think it's such a great mixture to people that have been here since the mid-1950s up until people that just graduated in the last year or two, so it's a great mixture of people, and especially from engineering, different groups of engineers, as well as marketing and business. So I want to thank you all. So this is an inaugural program for us at the University West of Scotland. I worked with the Dean, Ian Allison, and with the Dean of Business School, and we created this special executive and residence program now to bring back our distinguished alumni who've had really successful careers in business to have this experience with our students and with our alumni, and give them, the alumni, also an experience here at UWS in a very immersive, intensive way. So Les has a really big day in front of him. He's speaking with all of you. He's got a lot of students speaking with him on 10 o'clock, and he's going into the executive group with all the deans and the principal of the university to talk with all of us over lunch, and then we're taking him to the new campus. So he's going to get to see our new welcome event for our new students at the new campus tonight. So he's going to be exhausted by the end of the day, I think, but we're
I am already.
So grateful that he's our inaugural executive in residence, and I can't think anybody any better to do it than Les, so we're very grateful to you. So I'm going to turn over now. I'm going to introduce you to Dean Ian Allison, who's Dean of the School of Computing, Engineering, and Physical Sciences, who's going to do the introduction.
Great, thanks Catherine, and thanks to you all. Let me say how delighted I am to see you all here this morning. It's fantastic. Les feels like an old friend. We've met on a number of occasions now over graduation. So one of the things that Les and his family have contributed to this university is a fantastic prize for our students and equipment for our students, and we're absolutely grateful for that. He's one of our own. He came out of Bell College, created a successful career following his electrical engineering background, and I think you were at British Steel. I'm sure I'm not going to steal your thunder here, but British Steel, and then went on to develop his own business, moved out, was headhunted, moved out to Canada to work for ShawCor, and then went on to become vice chairman of that organisation. Fantastic history, and I'm sure we'll hear from the depths of that experience today, and I'm certainly looking forward to listening to that. So thank you for taking the time. We know your time is very precious when you're here in the UK, and thank you for taking the day out to come and be with us. And I'd also, just if you just allow me to also thank colleagues, so Catherine and Ewan and Sharon and others, for putting this on. You know, this is, as I say, a fantastic new initiative for UWS, and you know, it was Catherine's idea, and I think it's a great idea, and I think the more of these we can do, the better. And yet again, another fantastic initiative for UWS. So well done, and over to you, Les. Thanks.
Christophe, thanks very much. Good morning. Bonjour les mesdames and messieurs. Sorry, there's a French Canadian guy at the back. This, I didn't realise this was the first one, Catherine. It's a long time since I've been a virgin, so the topic I was asked to chat about this morning was my 5 top things I've learned about business. And you probably put 2 zeros behind that. There's probably 500 things you learn in business, but I'll try and distill it down to 5 things. Before I do so, you asked me to talk about how did I get here in the first place. I was born in Bodwell, for those who know where that is. It's near Hamilton. I was born in a tenement, 1 story up. My father worked for British Rail, thank God, because we got free travel everywhere. It was great. And my mother, she worked in a furniture store selling furniture, and I think I'd take the selling after her, so a combination of both. From there I then lived in Motherwell, Wishaw, and then back at Motherwell again. I bought my first house there after an excursion to the Middle East in the 70s, and I worked in Das Island. You have no idea where that is. Frankly, neither did I until I went there, and the idea was to make money. That was the idea, because I was skint. It's a great incentive to work hard. I started my first business when I was 20 with a friend of mine, Ron McCulloch, who subsequently became very famous. He owned Big Beat, which owned the tunnel in Glasgow, and so on and so forth. So he was my buddy. And so we started a mobile disco business, as you do when you're skint. So We actually, using my electrical engineering background, actually built the discotheque. So built the turntables and the stands and the light columns and all of the stuff that goes with it. We did that, we marketed it, we ended up getting a contract with Stakis Hotels. Are they still going? I don't know. Are they? I don't know. No, no, anyway, got a contract with Stakis. We got more demand than we had supply, so we bought another 5 mobile disco businesses and we grew the business. At the same time, I was an engineer with British Steel, which was based in Clydesdale Works in Bellsill. I was in the central engineering department and we covered the 5 companies in the area. We did all the capital expenditure, we designed all the systems and so on and so forth. We did all of that. And at the same time, I was playing semi-professional football with Albion Rovers. Yes. So, because I was skint, I made a point of not leaving the house unless somebody paid me to do so, which is what happened. So, I then sold the disco business because I really couldn't keep it going. I was coming home at 4 o'clock in the morning, getting up at 7 and going to work again. So, did that for 3 years and I thought, I'm either going to give it up or die, one of the two. So I gave it up and sold the business. I subsequently started another business which was electrical contracting. And both of these served to teach me a lot that I used later on in life. And you may be curious as to why I've got a toolbox here. Right? Because what I'd started to do was to try and fill up this toolbox full of tools and techniques that I was going to use in the rest of my career. I didn't know I was doing it at the time, but that's what I was doing. And I acquired the skill and ability to turn around companies. So companies that were kind of struggling a little bit, particularly mature engineering companies, I managed to develop the skill to turn those round. And what I did is I would turn up with my toolbox full of the tools and techniques that I'd learned, and I would use some, but never all of the tools I had in my toolbox to fix that particular company. So this is going to be, I'm going to be talking to the undergraduates, I believe, later this morning, and I'm going to be asking them to start the task of filling up a toolbox full of tools and techniques that they can use in their career going forward. I think you've already done that. But anyway, well, that's what this is about. So, what did I learn? First thing was, every business begins and ends with the market. You've got to understand your market in detail. You've got to understand the competitive landscape. You've got to understand the pricing structure that exists in that market. And this was, we have ourselves to blame really, because it was, and you may remember The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith in 1776. And he set about describing how the market economy would work. Yeah. My personal view is that there's a flaw in his theory. This was particularly exploited in the 80s and early 90s by Margaret Thatcher, who either you like or you don't like. But she was a great advocate of Adam Smith, and she thought, let the market dictate what happens. Now, Adam Smith's theory is that if the market forces me to shut down this company over here, and you lose your job, then the market's going to grow somewhere over here, and you can get a job there. Of course, that's utterly and totally impractical, because people don't do that. People like to stay where their families and friends are. They like to stay in a certain place. They like the food. They like whatever. So what you get, thanks to Margaret Thatcher and her theory and Adam Smith, is something I experienced during the 1980s and early 1990s, which was social deprivation caused by market forces. And the government did nothing to try and help that. So I think there's a wee flaw in his thing. I think the government has a part to play in transitions in markets, so that Catherine can end up still with a job at the end but still get paid well, she's been retrained or whatever. Yeah. What they do is now is they fire her, then they retrain her, and somehow they try and find a job. It doesn't work. Anyway, can you see? Sorry.
Yes.
See, okay. Yeah. USP. I'm sure you all know what that is, but it's a unique selling point. And that is, I have found, absolutely vital to find out what is your unique selling point. And usually it's something to do with the quality of your product or the service that you provide. You can do it faster than somebody else. Or you've got a better price than somebody else. Usually it's one of those three things. So the other thing I learned was don't get cost and price mixed up. One of the companies that early on was we had a habit of we would work out what the cost was and we'd mark it up by like a number, 35%, 40%, and that would be the price that we would sell it to whoever. Fundamental flaw. What you have to do is you have to find out what is the market price for that product or service that you're providing, irrespective of cost. What is the market price that you can get? What's the maximum price that you can get for your product or service in the marketplace in which you're operating? And then you set about the task of, okay, how cheap can I make it so that I can actually end up making some money? So a couple of examples of that I'll probably talk about as we go through here, but that I found to be absolutely vital in any business to be successful. I must emphasize I wasn't always successful. Sometimes I had to be brutally honest, and I shut down factories. Because at the end of the day, if you study and you do all the stuff I'm going to tell you, at the end of the day, if the market's not there and you can't produce it at the right price, then of course there's no point in carrying on. Right? But I have to be honest and say about 90% of the time I was all right and made money. But the next thing is sales and marketing. This was a common problem I found when I went into companies and I'm talking to people about what's the difference between sales and marketing. And selling is easy because I'm going to take this pen and I'm going to sell it to you for £1. No, I'm not really. But anyway, I'm going to sell it to you £1, yeah? How do I market a pen? Or another analogy I frequently use is, who's ever had a Mars bar in their life? Yeah? Now, how long have they been making Mars bars for? I don't know, 40 years or something. Anyway, when television came in, you would see adverts for Mars bars 5 times a day on television, yeah? And the slogan was, helps you work, rest and play. You can't say that now because it's actually not good for you, but they used to say that. So they would have an advert for Mars bars 5 times a day, every day, for 30 years, let's say. So you tell me, what can you say about a Mars bar 5 times a day, every day, for 30 years? A lot, apparently. But anyway, the one thing you'll never see in one of those adverts is a price. All right? You will see Tesco selling it, but you won't see Mars bar pricing. Because what they're trying to do with you, they're trying to sell you an idea, a concept, a slogan, whatever. They're selling you an idea. And then on the back of that, Tesco can then sell you a Mars bar. So marketing is selling an idea, and that for some people is a bit of an abstract thing to try and comprehend and understand what that is and how do I do that. Most people know how to sell you something, but marketing is a different thing. And how those guys did all that for Mars bars, I will never know. Apparently it was 3 guys in a cupboard down in England that were doing it. The other thing I found was, even with a unique selling point and effective sales and marketing, you have to have effective commercialization. So how do you make money? Right? So an example of that was a company I had which was called Shaw Pipeline Services. It was SPS. Hopefully you can see this. Which was in the business of undertaking ultrasonic inspection of girth welds. God, that sounds great, doesn't it? What the heck is that? Right, so pipelines that carry oil and gas, they vary in diameter, but generally speaking they're yay diameter or bigger. Okay, so it's that big. It's 40 feet long, made of steel, big thing. Yeah? So when you have two of these things, which obviously have to be welded together so they can be put on the ground or under the water, you have to weld it. And the next thing you have to do is you have to check that that weld is in fact good. When you put this at the bottom of the sea bed is not flat. Yeah? The sea bed kind of does this. Yeah. So when the pipeline goes across here, and you've maybe got a few welds, these are 40 feet each, then the welds in this area here are supporting a lot more force than elsewhere on the seabed. So we developed a technique where we could more accurately measure the defects in those welds better than anybody else in the world. All right? Unique selling point. I took over the company and it just lost $1.5 million. Now I'm going, how the heck is that possible? Because it went through the normal cycle of company development. It was developed by a group of engineers, God love us, and had developed this technique, right? And they had started it, built it up, grown it, blah, 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 blah. But of course the inevitable happened, which competitors started coming into the marketplace. And they had no idea what to do with that, other than we'll just keep reducing the price. Common strategy, mostly why businesses go bust. Anyway, so they were doing a lot of things, I've got to tell you, but this was one of the main things. And I asked the guy who was the sales and marketing chap, and did a lot of the bidding and everything, and I said, so how do you do that? How do you price this and how do you sell that? And he said, well, we get from, that's not me, I promise, we get inquiries from Shell, BP, Exxon, Mobil, those guys, who are doing a pipeline, and they want us to quote for this bit here. And he said, we really do well on it because we charge a 70% margin on that stuff. And I thought, okay. I said, but what about all the rest of it? Because to give you an idea, the average length of one of these things is about 300 kilometers. Right? I said, what happens about all of this other stuff that you're going on? Yeah, well, we go into a competitive quote with Joe Bloggs Limited, and we don't win them all, you know, because we keep reducing the price. And I thought, so just let me get this right here. You're telling me we're the only people in the world who can do this thing? He goes, yep. And he said, no, but we make good money at it. I said, but you're losing money on all this stuff here. He goes, yeah. I said, I'll tell you what, starting tomorrow, if a customer phones up and asks for an inquiry to do this thing here, surprise, surprise, we ain't doing that anymore. We're going to quote for the 300 kilometers of which that forms a part, or we're not doing it at all. The market. Needless to say, he said the guys are going to go crazy, the customers are going to go, we won't get any work, we're going to get blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, if you're correct, and we are the only people who can do this, they don't have anywhere else to go. And he said, but they're going to shout at me. And I said, tell you what to do. I said, I'm from near Glasgow. He didn't know where that was. I said, if you have a problem, you just get on me, phone me. Right? That was another lesson I learned. This is on video, so I can't say it. But keep a good off on you. Anyway, I said, we're going to do that. So needless to say, my phone started going almost the next day. And they're saying, you can't do this to us. And I said, Mr. Exxon, do you really want your suppliers to be bleeding money out the door so you can get your job done and you can make lots of money? Is that really what you want? Or do you want us to spend the money on research and development and find the answer to your next puzzle beyond this one? I say, we're not in the business of losing money. We have to make money to give you the service that you're looking for. So I'm afraid that's what's going to happen. In less than 2 years, not only were we not pricing job by job, I had 3 main companies in which we had multi-year master service agreements to do all of their pipelines. And we were getting a return on capital of about 165%. If you're not financial, that's very good. So that's what I think I'm talking about, commercialization. If you don't, how do you then make money at it? And one of the things I found in Scotland is we're not actually terribly good at that, because we don't understand enough about financials and so on. Don't know if you can see that. You'll remember him. Yes. I'm barely remembering myself. But Yogi Bear, and you were thinking, what the heck is that about? You enjoyed this, didn't you? You were making up the video on this thing. One of the things I learned was, when it comes to sales and marketing, you need to employ a Yogi Bear. Now, for those who are not as young as me, when I was a wee boy, I used to be able to get for Christmas was an inflatable thing with sand in the bottom, and it was a punch bag. And you used to punch Yogi Bear, and he would fall down and he'd come straight back up again. You could hit him again, fall down, straight back up again. That's what you need in a salesman. Because a salesman is going to get more no's than he's going to get yeses. And to be honest with you, some people can't handle the psychology of no. Personally, I'm not very good at people telling me no. But anyway. So one of the lessons I learned with regard to the market when you're operating there is have a Yogi Bear on your staff. Financials. The bad news is you actually have to learn about business. And I actually don't care what you do, whether you're in financials or you're in management or you're a pure engineer or whatever. You've got to try and fathom out and understand what all this is about, all this jargon about profit and loss accounts and balance sheets and cash flows and all that jazz. You actually have to do that. I took 2 years to learn how to do it, part of which was at the business school at Edinburgh University. You've got to understand what makes every single line on the P&L account go up and what makes it go down. And you've got to understand that intimately. An example of that is, for those who don't know, is I took over Motherwell Football Club. Yeah? So I bought it for £1. Not the best deal I've ever done, I tell you. But I did my usual. I went in with my toolkit and I went in and had a look at it. And there was a line on the P&L account which was medical expenses. And it was running at approximately £120,000. And that number had been going up for a period of 3 years. And I went, how can that be, or why is that? The other thing I found out when I took over, that there was 11 first team players were not available through injury. So I then made some inquiries as to what makes it go up, what makes it go down. And obviously it was a lack of conditioning of the players when I dug into it. So I asked the manager I brought in, his name was Ian Barraclough, give me 2 conditioning reports for anybody in the first team and 2 conditioning reports for anybody in the under-20s professional team. Alright? Now you've got to remember, I was a pro, and back in the 70s, and we had conditioning reports. They weren't on laptops and spreadsheets and stuff, it was just on a card, but you were tested once a month in terms of your fitness. 2 days later, Ian Barraclough contacted me and said, Les, I'm terribly sorry, I can't find a conditioning report. This is the Scottish Premiership club. I was utterly astonished. To find out, in fact, they did not have a sports scientist guy on the staff, the cost of which would be approximately 30k. They didn't have one. Somebody thought it was a whizzo idea, because they were struggling for cash. Let's not spend 30k, because we can't afford it. But in fact, on the P&L account, this was 120,000. And this year, I had to go out and buy a whole series of players at a cost of just over £500,000. All because somebody thought it was a good idea to not spend £30,000. So somebody hadn't really stood back and looked at it, what makes it go up, what makes it go down, and how do you, in fact, make it better. For those who can't see, this says key ratios. So it's important to get some metric of a business, yeah? Put metrics on measurement in it. Financial guys have been doing this for 100 years. And they use things like ROS, blank stare, return on sales, ROCE, return on capital employed, EBITDA, no, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization. Yes? Yes. So you have to understand what that means, because otherwise it's just blah, 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 blah. And you have to understand that, what do they mean? What should those ratios be? What should they not be? And you've got to understand that if you're going to operate in a business, I mean, even if you're not in management, you've got to understand, okay, what do I do to make that line on the P&L go up or go down, and how does it affect these key ratios? Outside the financial side, sorry, these folk can't see it, are key metrics. So, going back to Motherwell, for example, football club, they did not actually measure the number of home fans that were coming through the gate. Not the away fans, they knew the total thing. And I said, but you're going to put these programs in place to try and attract more people. Shouldn't you measure that to know whether you're achieving what you set out to do? And they went, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So we measured the home stand people, and we started doing that. Another feature was we're trying to get more money for using the various function rooms in the place. So we're trying to bring in people for weddings, funerals, so on and so forth, so we could get more money. They didn't measure what the utilization was of these function rooms. Well, surprise, surprise, now they do. So they know if they do something, they can actually see whether the thing goes in the right direction. Now, I did that in all the businesses in many, many complex ways, but you've got to be careful that you don't have paralysis by analysis, so that there is a balance to be struck here. And the final point is, don't chase revenue. This was a common theme back in the 70s. I was ultimately the production director of Anderson Strathclyde. You may or may not know that company. We used to employ about 1,500 people in Motherwell, and we made world-class coal mining shearers for cutting coal. Yeah? World-class stuff. Doesn't exist today because of the market. But they were trying to just keep going. Somehow or other, they had to pay wages, they had to do what they were doing, and they actually just ended up chasing revenue. And when you actually analysed it, every order we were losing money, because nobody actually understood what the P&L account effect was of this stuff. They actually didn't know what the cost was. Was there any accountants in you? Hope not. No. Because accountants used to tell me, when I was a senior manager before I became director, they say, oh yeah, we know how much it costs to make this. We know, absolutely. And we measure it down to the third decimal point with a stopwatch. We know exactly how long it takes, we know exactly what it is, and we know exactly what it costs. So after 2 years of financial training, I said, no you don't. Because I began to understand standard costing. Again, you probably don't know what that is. Anyway, standard costing is a method of costing for manufacturing. And what you do is that you will say, this thing is going to go through various operations. we'll make this pen, for example. It's going to go through your various operations, and then it's going to go into an assembly. 2 bits go together, and we sell it. Yeah. So that is in there to be turned or processed in some 1.4 seconds. This one here is 2.5 minutes, and this one here is half an hour. Each of these processes. And they were measuring this down to the 3rd decimal point. But what they didn't measure was what happens in here. Then what they did is they said, we're going to take this time here and we're going to apply an overhead to that. Overhead is all of the costs. So the guys, the ladies sitting in the office, the guy driving the truck, all of the other stuff which is not directly related to doing this. And they would apply that rate at this time here. So what you've done is you've taken a very precise time, and you've taken this big butter knife and you went bleh, all over it. And the finance guys tell you, yep, that's the cost. No, it's not. Because depending on how they calculate that, depends what that cost is. And if you do that wrong, you could find out, in fact, instead of this being your most expensive thing to do, in fact, it could be this thing over here. So they actually didn't know. I tried to fix it in the last 2 years I was there, and we got a better idea towards the end. But until then, unfortunately, we were chasing revenue. So don't do that. Is a key lesson to be learned. So let's say that you have a market, you have a product, you have a unique selling point, you know how to make it. Do grab a seat somewhere. All right. So let's assume that you kind of know all of that, and you know the price the market will withstand. Yeah. So we'll go back and make the pen again for you. And the pen, the cost of this, or the price of this I can get in the marketplace is £5. If you remember what I said to you, the next thing you have to do is, okay, how cheap can I make this? And that comes from continuous improvement. For people to improve or to change, fascinating thing is they actually have to have a reason to change. Right? We are creatures of habit, as you probably know. So you've got to give them, or I had to give them, a reason to change. Because they're going, well, I don't understand, I'm doing a great job, I come every day, I come on time, I don't have any days off, I work my ass off, I do my thing. I said, I can't do any better than that. And I would have to say, well, actually, yes, we can. Let me ask you a question. What's the biggest room in the house? The living room. No, it's the room for improvement. So, one of the things, the techniques I had is I came up with all sorts of little phrases. Sorry. For doing this. And one of the other ones I came up with is, how do you eat an elephant? An old one, you probably know it, which is one mouthful at a time. Now these little phrases and jokes and so on are actually very, very fundamental. Because what you're trying to do is, when you try to change what people do, the first thing you have to overcome is fear. Now the fear can be that size, the fear can be that size. It's funny how people have different fears, I have learned, for various reasons I can't understand. But not saying I should, but I don't. So when you're managing change and you're trying to create continuous improvement, you have to work hard at reducing that fear. But I just tell you, you will never get rid of it. People are frightened for any 100 reasons, I don't know. But you can reduce it. And I used humour. Sorry. I used these phrases which people would remember. And the idea of people were talking about improvement was originally was, well, you want me to go from here to here? Okay, that's me improved, that's me done, you know. And as you know, no, it's not. It's a continuous process. So if you use the phrase biggest room in the house, the room for improvement, that's every day, everybody, all the time. So you create a different piece of psychology. The elephant in the room, the elephant chopping it up into pieces. Sometimes people are overwhelmed by massive problems. Right? I was running a company in Houston, and the competitor we had was 10 times bigger than us. And we went, how do we compete with them? I said, we need to find a unique selling point. All right? And one of the things we did, sorry, I'm just looking to make sure it's not in a future one. That's not right. Is we did, we made drill pipe for the drilling industry. We made a range of products called heavyweight, directional weight. We made all these things to do drilling. Funny story. I went to the first meeting. I'm the new boss, right? So I'm there to impress. I use my good West of Scotland subtlety. And it was in Houston, so I got everybody in, all the guys with the fancy titles, you know, the vice presidents of the world and all this stuff. You know, they're all lined up here, and I'm going round the table. Right, I need you, but I think I need you to do this. Come on, let's get going. You, I need you to do something. And there's a guy 3 up. I'm going to do something. I'll do it to you because you're the guy. His name was Ralph, right? So I get you, Ralph, I need the information on that heavyweight. Thursday, 2 o'clock, my office. Come on, let's get it done. Smiles. Right, you, I need you to do. Thursday at 2 o'clock comes. No information. So I'm there to impress, right? So I march up the corridor, burst into Ralph's office. I said, Ralph, Thursday at 2 o'clock, you're supposed to give me. Sorry? I said, we're at the meeting. You were supposed to give me the heavyweight thing, 2 o'clock, Thursday. He said, I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Hutchison. I have absolutely no idea what you were saying. So, another lesson learned. You have to adapt. So I then started talking about going on sidewalks, going up in elevators and putting gas in my car, which I still do, which is terrible. Anyway, so in the same company, we made, as I said, drill pipe. Now, a drill pipe is made up of, these bits here are 31 feet long. And there's a male and a female screw connection, yeah? Now these ends here, these bits here, are welded on to the pipe using friction welding. I wouldn't go for that, but that's what they do, right? So we would put these through the tool joint, that's what they're called, tool joint machine shop. And if you remember earlier, we'd make 300 kilometers or something. So there would be batches of generally 300 of these things, right? Now remember, I'm trying to get a USP. That's what I'm trying to, how do I do this, right? So I said to the guy who was in charge of this, who wasn't Ralph, you'll be pleased to know, I said, how long does it, this is the tool joint machine shop, and there's dozens of guys in here, CNC machine tools, all sorts of fancy stuff in here, right? I said, from the time it goes in to the time it goes out, how long is the usual batch of 300 of these things in there? How long is it in this box? The guy goes, I don't know. So he went and got his production control guy. They checked the last 20 orders. And the average was 31 days. All right? So I got the head of that department. He was a general manager guy. His name was Tom. I said, right, Tom. I said, what I need you to do for me is I need you to trust me. First thing I have to do is I have to get you to trust me. Don't forget, he doesn't know me from Adam, right? Or Ralph, come on. He said, I'm going to get you to reduce this 31 days down to 7. Now, Tom had been with the company for 30 years, working hard, doing his thing, coming in every day, doing his stuff. And that'll be shining bright, you know. I said, that's why I need you to trust me, Tom. I'm going to show you how to do this. So we set about the task of doing all this, and he did trust me. And we got the production control guys in, we got other guys in, and I was talking to them about lean manufacturing, which some of you probably know something about. And it was about the fundamental principles for me are don't touch it or move it unless you have to. Literally, don't touch it or move it unless you have to. Find 100 reasons to fix that. Don't touch it or move it. Right? So after about 6 months, and I think I spent about $850,000. Tom and his guys came back in, and I said, okay guys, the last 10 orders you've done, what is the magic number? 5 days. One, I'd given them some hope. 2, I'd given them a toolbox full of tools and kits to get the job done. And 3, they had a lot of enthusiasm. The result was they got it down to 5 days. The day after that meeting, Tom came to my office. And my door was always open, by the way. Tom, yeah, can I speak to you? Yeah, sure. He comes in, sits down. He says, Les, he said, I owe you an apology. I'm racking my brain. What did he do? What did I do? What did he do? I don't remember anything here. I said, yeah. I said, why do you owe me an apology? He said, I didn't believe you. And I'm here to say sorry, because I didn't believe you. But he was brave enough to trust me, and people had known about me in the past, and we were able to make a radical change here. The whole objective of this was to get the USP, which is that we could turn around an order faster than the competition could. In the oil industry, that's very important. All right, so that was the elephant. Part of the chosen techniques that I used to do this was derived from the theory of constraints, and it's a book by a guy called Eli Goldratt, and it's called The Goal, which I recommend you read. It's written in a way, it's like a story of these guys on an adventure, but the underlying principles behind it are the theory of constraints, which if you use your brain properly, you can do stuff like this. So that was another one of these things I had in my toolbox I was able to pull out and to use. When you manage an organization, and I don't care whether it's a business or a university or whatever, and you manage 3 things: people, time and money. That's what you manage. And a strange thing I found is that we have hundreds of accountants. Lots of accountants, I'm sure. Everybody has lots of accountants in their organisation. Thank goodness nobody's here. Anyway, but they have. So we manage the hell out of this, don't we? Manage the hell out of lots of stuff about it. People. You have an HR department. Yeah, you have an HR. So we've got all these people and stuff. The one thing that we don't have is that. How to manage time. An underrated pastime, I find. So every organisation I went into, I did a program with the guys to teach them how to manage time and make them more effective. Another tool in the toolkit. Very underestimated, so do manage your time very effective. Part of the psychology of change, I was telling you about reasons to change and this other stuff. Another phrase I used to use to reduce stress levels in organisations, the guy would run into me, Les, we've got a problem. And I went, well, no, we don't actually. We don't have any problems. All we have are opportunities to show how good we are. So that was a piece of psychology that all of a sudden, oh, it's not a problem. No, it's not a negative. It's actually, hey, I've got a chance here to show how good I am. It's now an opportunity. So all of these little things are about managing people and managing their minds. I hear a lot about technology. Well, you've got artificial intelligence, you've got robotics, we're going to take over the world and it's going to be Terminator stuff, yeah? Let me tell you something. This has been on the go, as far as I know, from the 70s. I designed a facility at Imperial Works in Airdrie in 1974, 75. And this was, we made casing pipe for the North Sea. Big pipe, same thing, big, yeah, all of that. And I designed a part of the plant where you would automate the thing, tested it, you threaded the ends, you put on company, you greased it, you did stuff to it, yeah? And about 3 months before it was due to open, the production manager guy called in the engineers, one of them being me. And he said, right guys, how's it going? Yeah, good, good, good. He came to me and he said, so, I went, yeah, I said, we're pretty good, I think we're on schedule, it's all looking good. He said, how many men do I need to run the facility? And I said, 132. The guy goes, no. And I'm going, I've done the best I can. I've done the best job I can. 132, I can't. He said, no, you don't understand. It needs to be 170. Because they'd done a deal with unions and they had to employ 170 people. So I had to actually de-automate something. So that was an example in the 1970s. In the 1980s, I got my first laptop, which was a suitcase, yeah. And I was doing some, again, for manufacturing people, it's called rough cut capacity planning. So you're trying to fathom out over the next 12 months, how many things do I need? Do I need to spend capital? Do I need more people? Do I need to, whatever I need to do? So you did some rough cut capacity planning. And I did it initially. I had 3 guys who did a lot of number crunching, who then, we put it into a wee hole in the wall to the lady in the computer area. She punched all the cards, it went in the computer. 2 days later, we got this massive big printout. We got the stuff and we analysed the hell out of it. Right, okay. I got my laptop and I had Lotus 123. You're old enough to remember that. These young people have no idea what I've just said. Right? There was no file searches and all that stuff back then. You had to write your own macros and things. So I developed a macro and I ended up, I could do all this myself in 20 minutes. So what happened to the 3 guys that were doing this? What happened to the people in the computer area that were doing this? What happened to the So we've been doing this for a long time, guys. So people say we're all frightened. No, we've been doing this for a while and we are very resilient as humans to march on. I'm conscious of time. This is now you. The essence of the human spirit is hope. And wherever you go and whatever you do, you have to inspire hope. Take hope away, people all go down. That's what we do. So our job, your job, is to inspire hope. And one of the things I'm here for is hopefully inspire hope. That despite of all these problems and complications and stuff that are out there, we're actually pretty good as humans. Pretty resilient. And we can adapt and develop. Inspire and be inspired. I'm continually inspired every day. I'm inspired with my younger daughter who runs a fashion label in New York, who started from scratch and sold dresses to Michelle Obama and others from zero. I'm inspired by my older daughter. She has given us 3 grandsons, and how she does what she does I will never know. It's a military manoeuvre every day. It's impressive. So be inspired, but also inspire others around you. So a lot of what you'll see here is a bit of psychology about not being negative. The biggest room in the house. We don't have problems, we have opportunities. We inspire hope. So everything you do every day can inspire or not. I would prefer to inspire people to be the best they can be. And this is the main secret. Keep smiling. No matter what, keep smiling. For those who don't know, I was diagnosed with cancer in 2011. I was given 7 months to live. Fortunately, I was in the right place at the right time. I was in New York, and I went to Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Centre, where I was put onto a special program of chemotherapy and all sorts of other things. During that, I continued to try and smile. An example of that was about halfway through my treatment, the doctor said, because psychologically I was struggling a wee bit, and he said, read all about the disease, and it was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I went, I'm going to read all about this. I read a lot of books. After a wee while, I started reading books written by patients who had a similar diagnosis and not the same treatment, but similar. And I thought, this will help. So I read 4 o'clock in the morning, because you're on steroids, right? 4 o'clock in the morning, I was reading a book by a lady scientist in my bed, and I'm reading it on my iPad, you know. I'm reading through it. Halfway through the book, she said, I'm going to tell you about some of the side effects the doctor won't tell you about. Oh, this is fascinating. I got halfway through and it says, you're going to become a shopaholic. And I was. The amazing thing in New York is if you're on Amazon.com and if you order something the night before, it's delivered the next morning. Fantastic service they have there. The only trouble is I've got chemo brain. Right? So I actually don't remember doing it in the first place. So my wife would come in and she said, there's some boxes here for you. Amazon. Don't know anything about it. So she brought it in. Oh, it's a microphone. So opened up the box, and inside were, you know, these masks you get, right? So I had become fixated with infection control, right? But did you know there's 3 different kinds of those you get? There's a steel bit you can get here. You've seen them, and there's one that's kind of a paper mache type thing, and there's one that does this, you know, and you can't have enough of them. I had ordered 300 of each. The next day, my wife said, packet? No. No, definitely not. Go and get it, she brings it in. Oh, no. Rubber gloves. You know the rubber gloves? You know they come in 3 sizes, of course. So I said to my wife, anybody who comes into the apartment, you've got to wear the gloves, you've got to do the stuff, it's infection, you've got to do this, you know. Anyway, 300 of those as well, which was great. 20 thermometers, multiple CDs, DVDs. I even bought a wheelchair because I couldn't walk, so I did that. And I went absolutely crazy. One of the things, I'm a baseball fan, right? I'm a New York Yankees baseball fan. And Amazon.com, they have this DVD thing package. It's this size, right? With DVDs, right? Hundreds of them, right? And it's every World Series game ever played by the New York Yankees. I mean, you just got it, that, haven't you? $4,800. Yes, that's what I said. Do you know to this day I haven't watched one of them? So, the secret through this is that we actually had, despite the desperate situation, that we actually had a few laughs along the way. And in fact, one final story, towards the end I was getting some very, very toxic treatment, and I was actually going to hospital 24/7 getting 5 different kinds of chemo drugs. And I had this lovely room at the top of the hospital, and it had tiles like this, you know these tiles here? So I'm in the bed and I'm moving with 1, 2, 5, 6. My wife comes in, I said, give me a minute, 7, 8. She says, what are you doing? I said, I'm counting the tiles. Just give me a minute. I don't know what it makes you do. Anyway, so keep smiling, work hard. I'm afraid I've not found a substitute for that. I wish there was. There isn't. As you probably gathered, I had 3 jobs at a time. I worked, for a period, I worked for 12, 14 hours a day, 6 days a week for 2 years without a holiday. I don't recommend you do that, by the way. In fact, what I do recommend that you do is that you have 3 things outside work to keep you busy. I found out this because I really was getting affected. I was stressed out in my box, and I took up playing the guitar when I was 32 or something. I was a keen motorcyclist, and I went back to playing golf again because my football career was coming to an end. The good thing about that is you have to go and do those things. You have to take a break from the work thing, and it makes you much more effective as a person, as an engineer, as a manager, or whatever. And give back. I started giving back years ago, thanks to a friend of mine who lived in Hamilton. He was a famous entrepreneur called Donald Story. My cousin's passed away now. Donald and I were friends for many, many years, and he taught me how to give back. And you don't need money. I'm going to set you a challenge, starting today. You were hoping I wasn't going to pick on you. I'd like you to try and make 3 strangers smile every day. That's more difficult than you think. Wouldn't the place be a whole lot better if we actually went around trying to make people smile rather than trying to shoot them or bomb them or whatever else we were trying to do with each other? And it could be something simple. I mean, in New York it was raining and I had a cab and there was a lady behind me. Not to be sexist, but it was a lady behind me. And I thought, yeah, here you go. You take the cab, you go and you go. So I was in the airport in Houston and there was a lady, what's all these ladies going on? But there was a lady who had toothache. Terrible toothache. I mean, she was crying and she's about to go on a flight. Now, she's sitting where you are, Catherine, and you know, she's, that can either be a pain in the, we're on TV so we can't say it, but anyway, a pain in the buttocks, or it's another opportunity. So I went into my bag and I raked through, because I thought I had some painkillers somewhere. I went raked through the bag and I came out and I had some painkillers, so I had back trouble at the time. And I said, so I went over to the lady and I said, look, I've heard you've got toothache, would it be okay if I've got these, they're analgesic things, you can, and she's looking at me, you know, this is pot or something, you know. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll take one and you take one, right? So that, you know, you take any one you like. So we did that. 20 minutes later, the lady came over and gave me a hug, because all of a sudden the edge of the pain had gone and she started to smile. So you don't need money to give back. Fortunately, I have some. I'm probably giving away more than I should. But it's very important for you and for your soul to give back. And I think that Scotland and the world would be much better if we all gave back a little bit more. Thank you. I think I've significantly gone over the time.
It's okay. I think this has been brilliant. I know some of you may have to leave, some of you might have to go, but if anyone wants to stay and ask, we're going to keep him just a little bit longer before he has to go get his next seminar speech at 10 o'clock. If you have any questions for Les, now's your chance to ask your burning question. But thank you, Les. Very inspiring. I wish the whole university could have heard this, actually, because this is really relevant to the situation we find ourselves in now. Here. So any questions for Les?
I'm hoping to answer. Oh dear, oh dear. My friend from Barbados.
Yeah.
By the way, those who don't know, I live in Barbados. This gentleman left Barbados to come here. Nuts.
Still smiling.
There you go. Hey, it's working already. There you go.
No, again, because you have the experience of being in Barbados, and I find that we are resisting change. As you know, we settle into our comfort zone and enjoy the presentations, and I'd love to see happening all the companies in Barbados. How did you set that environment to make people embrace that let's go for the change? Because you often find in the Caribbean this, no, we've always done it this way scenario, so why change it? And you need to set that environment to create that.
Yes.
I always refer to young graduates coming to the office, they're all enthusiastic. You just give them time of a month and all of a sudden they become with the rest of the other employees. Enthusiasm is gone because they've been numbed down. So there's always theory and there's reality.
Yes.
You know, but I am inspired by the presentation, as that's how we think all the time, is that we should be always thinking differently and challenging. So that's why I wanted to find out how you set that environment.
The biggest thing is, back to what I said, and I'm going to get back to it quickly, is a reason to change. And you know the lady I'm about to talk about is Mia Motley. Mia was just elected the First Lady, Prime Minister of Barbados. Yes. And it was a unique occurrence in the recent election because her party won every single seat in Parliament. That's how bad the previous lot were. So Mia was trying to fathom out what to do. So she actually came and see me, and we sat down for about 2.5 hours at my house in Barbados, and we had a chat. The thing you have to do is, I said to Mia, I said, do you want Barbados to be Haiti, or do you want Barbados to be the Bahamas? Or, yeah? Because you can go either way, as is proven in the Caribbean. You can go either way here. And to be fair, the country was starting to go down the Haiti road. Lots of corruption and so on and so forth going on. So you've got to make a decision what you want for your people. Now, Barbados has a unique opportunity because it has gone through real significant financial hardship. The debt is, I've lost count, it's billions anyway, the country's in debt. So the good thing, in a way, is that they have a reason to change. But a story about, you're talking about Barbados, I built a house there recently. I just moved in just before Christmas. Now, when I could walk around a factory and I could tell you roughly what the labour utilisation was. Now, labour utilisation is how much of the time is the person adding value to the product. Yeah. And we would, it's usually 90% and 90% is usually what it is, but I would probably try and target somewhere about 76% to 80% was a bit of a hope. And we got most of our factories up to that kind of level. I built my house in Barbados, and out of interest I walked round the site on a couple of occasions and did my analysis of the thing. Guess what the productivity was in Barbados? What do you think it was?
I know it's very low.
Yeah, it was 22%.
Yeah, very low.
And you've probably read about a lot of rhetoric in the press in Barbados, which is about improving productivity. But people have no idea what that means. No idea at all. So you have to use some of these other tools and techniques to break it down and ask the right question and get the right answer in Barbados. But that, I mean, why does it take 30 days to get an identification card? Put this to Mia. Oh, no, why does it take 30 days? In 2000, and then it was 2017. Why does it take 30 days? She said, no, yeah, we're going to look at government policy to see how that. I said, there you go, you see. Wrong question, wrong answer. You've got to go to whoever's the head of that department. You're going to set up a metric, and currently it's 30 days to do that, and tell him that he has 6 months to get it done in 10 days, 12 months to get it done in 5 days. And then hopefully go from there. Set up a metric, give the guy an objective, give him some training, ask the right question, get the right answer. So there's a bit of the thinking needs to be changed, and I had a lovely time with Mia, and it was funny, I was reading a newspaper not long after she was elected, about a month after she was elected, and they said they're going to do something at the airport, which is to remove the paperwork, you know, those big forms we have to fill in, which was funny. It was one of the things I told us to look at. We've got to be the most welcoming country in the world. We've got to make it as easy as possible for people to come in. They've got to have a wonderful experience while they're here. We don't do that as a country. So it was funny watching it later on. So she did listen and she did take up some of the ideas. Sorry, I think we had that question.
Yeah, kind of leading on from that, actually, I was just wondering how much culture impacted on the organisations that you worked in, you know, applying the same ways in different industries or different countries.
Which country are you from?
Ghana.
I've been to Ghana. We did the West Coast pipeline all of Ghana. Yeah. Anyway, I'll give you an example of culture. We had 2 facilities in Nigeria, one down in Oni, near Port Harcourt, which you know, and another one in Warri, both down in the Delta, you know now. Yeah? And we were losing money, and when I say that, tens of millions of dollars. And the president of that division, he's scratching his head, and he was a lovely Canadian person. He wasn't from your neck of the woods, but he was a Canadian person. And going to Nigeria was a real, as you know, it's a real culture shock, right? So I said, okay, I'll go and have a look at it. So I flew down there and I got all the VPs and presidents of the world and all that around the table again. And I said, right guys, we need to know what's going on here, right? Now we have a habit in the practice in the company of we would have a 3-year strategic plan and a 1-year very detailed business plan. So we need to get this, and as I'm talking, there's a guy who looks at me and he's kind of going, I said, whoa, 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 whoa. I said, I've obviously said something which is you don't agree with. I'm not here to tell you what to do, I'm here to try and help, and I need your help to help me to help you. He said, well, Mr. Hutchison, we're planning for next week and next month at a push, And I went, okay, as of today, that's what we're doing. We're going to have a detailed plan for next week, and then we'll have a wee look at what's happening in next month. Because the culture would not accept the fact of 3 years was a lifetime away. So you have to adapt to the culture. Yeah.
You did mention that
Accra.
Yeah.
I remember the cabin. Yes, on you go.
You did mention some of your projects failed, and in the situation where you failed, what was your bounce back strategy?
Wasn't one. I shut the place. The problem that you have is you can try and carry on and lose money, but that's, as you know, is not what business is about. It's not what Adam Smith talked about years ago. An example was Peterhead, up north of Aberdeen. And we had a company there that was involved in the inspection of tubing, which is used in the oil industry. Slightly smaller, 31 feet, blah, blah, blah. And the general manager had been coming to the quarterly management meeting saying, yes, tomorrow's going to be better, tomorrow's going to be better, tomorrow. I hate that. Tomorrow. I said, no, this is tomorrow. Why is it not better? So again, I went over and did what's what. I went to see all of the customers of that organisation, looked at the cost structure of that organisation, and tried to identify the USP. They didn't have one. They did have one geographically before, because a lot of stuff would happen out of Peterhead. That had stopped. All of the pipe work was going out of Aberdeen, so they were in the wrong place. Their costs were subsequently higher. They had an environmental impact because the trucks were going up and down. The oil industries don't like that stuff, despite the fact they produce the gas in the first place. And talking to the customers, they had already in their mind migrated over to this other company that was based in Aberdeen. It was brand new equipment, blah, 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 blah. So in fact, there was no market for what the company was doing. It took me about 8 weeks to do all of that. And my conclusion at the end of all of that, despite my very extensive toolkit, frankly, there was nothing I could do with the patient. The patient was going to die. But that's when your human comes in. How do we make that process as smooth and as easy as it can be for the people involved? And we provided a lot of counselling and so on and so forth. We gave enhanced redundancy payments. We did all of that, and we phased it over a period of time so people had time to go and get another job and so on. So sometimes you're successful, and sometimes, despite the toolbox, you can't do it.
I want to give Les a little break, but he's got to go speak again. A lot of students at 10 o'clock, so I thank you all so very much for coming. We're going to continue this series. We'll invite you to the next one, hopefully maybe in November. Still working on who that exactly would be, but anyway, thank you so much, and thank you so much, Les. I learned a lot. I'm sure everyone else did too. Thank you.